All right. Hey, welcome back to 2011 Studies. I'm posting some studies on Facebook, 2011 Studies Facebook, and those are written studies, and they're just more concise for those who are dealing with time issues and can't watch a video. I'm going to be continuing to do that because sometimes I study it at night, and I'll just type the study out and repost it onto Facebook, so it's a lot easier that way. And sometimes it saves me time too, because editing these videos takes a while. The last study, I should say, is Letters of Peace and Truth that I uploaded to Facebook. And the book of Esther, I think I released that on February 3rd, 2019. And I just wanted to read it to give you an idea of what's going up on Facebook, so we can continue to talk about the coming years ahead of us. For those people who insist there is no more salvation, they had better read the book of Esther closely. Most people know the story of Purim, how Haman cast lots per, that's what lots is translated as per, for one cycle of a year to land on a date in which he would destroy the Jews in the kingdom of Ahasuerus. This casting of per went from Nisan, the first of Nisan, the first month, to Adar, the 12th month. Now, I'm not sure if it was the first of Nisan, but it was from Nisan to Adar. So the first month to the 12th month. As the book of Esther discloses, what was planned by Haman the destroyer, his name means the destroyer, and his 10 sons. The opposite occurred, and the Jews had victory over their enemies. In fact, many became Jews because of the fear of the Jews fell upon the people of the kingdom when they saw what happened. Then during a precise time in the year and month of Adar, there was rejoicing and sending forth of letters in peace and truth. Now, peace and truth is a very important phrase in the Bible relating to the Word of God and the Gospel. Esther 9:30. And he sent letters unto all the Jews to the 127 provinces of the kingdom of Ahasuerus, with words of peace and truth, to confirm these days of Purim in their times appointed, according to Mordecai the Jew and Esther the queen, who Esther the queen had enjoined them, and as they had decreed for themselves and for their seed the matters of fastings and of their cry. And this is Esther 9:32. And the decree of Esther confirmed these matters of Purim, and it was written in the book. Now I wanted to just recover. We went over this. Yeah, it must have been 2015 around there on the information on Purim. And the information still stands. It's just a matter of what year it applies to. And I'm leaning toward now that it's the year that God really reverses things, and we enter that important Pentecost, which enters the day of the Lord. Whenever that may be. And we're looking at 2021 right now. Let's see. Peace and truth brings forgiveness from iniquity. Now this is Jeremiah 33:6. Behold, I will bring in health and cure. I will cure them. I will reveal unto them the abundance of peace and truth. And I will cause the captivity of Judah and the captivity of Israel to return, and will build them as the first. And I will cleanse them from all their iniquity, whereby they have sinned against me, and I will pardon all their iniquities, whereby they have sinned, and whereby they have transgressed against me. Now Psalm 84 has a similar passage concerning peace and truth. Psalm 80. It must be Psalm 85. No, it is Psalm 85. I said Psalm 84. 85:1. To the chief musician, a psalm for the sons of Korah. Lord, thou hast been favorable unto the land. Thou hast brought back the captivity of Jacob. The returning of the captivity, or the reversing of the captivity, is very key to when God is magnified. And that's what we've been studying in the past. How when we enter a month of, when Purim is celebrated, that's the month Adar And when we studied the month Adar, we looked into it. Did I put that in here? I don't think I did, actually, but that's probably going to be a part 2. Yeah, I talked on a little bit. Okay. But anyway, that's the month of Adar. It has a meaning of... there's the month Adar in Hebrew, and then there's the root word. If you go up a little bit on the number system, I think it's Hebrew 142. Anyway, you go up on the number system and you find that Adar, there's verses related to God being magnified and his arm being mighty, and it's just, the whole thing is amazing how God has done this, because all these words relate to that time period. Okay, now this is Psalm 85, 1. To the chief musician, a psalm for the sons of Korah. Lord, thou hast been favorable unto the land. Thou hast brought back the captivity of Jacob. Thou hast forgiven the iniquity of thy people, and thou hast covered all their sins. All their sins. Selah. When thou hast forgiven the iniquity of thy people, thou hast covered all their sins. Selah. Thou hast taken away all thy wrath. Thou hast turned thyself from fierceness. Turn thyself from the fierceness of thy anger. Psalm 85, 4. Turn us, O God of our salvation, and cause thine anger toward us to cease. Wilt thou be angry with us forever? Wilt thou draw out thy anger to all generations? Wilt thou not receive us again, that thy people may rejoice in thee? Show us mercy, O Lord, and grant us thy salvation. I will hear what God the Lord will speak, for he will speak peace unto his people and to his saints, and let them not turn again to folly. Yea, the Lord shall give that which is good, and our land shall yield her increase. Righteousness shall go before him, and shall set us in the ways of his steps. Now, for those who study the Bible, and we're a group that does, we know that the book of Esther is a grand picture of what Satan does at the end as the accuser and destroyer. The good news is that God has a different plan, just like in the book of Esther. God promises to reverse the captivity. When this happens in any given year in the future, the month Adar becomes a very important month. Yeah, I did cover Adar. I didn't know if I did or not. Adar occurs around February, March in our modern calendar. For instance, in 2019, Purim is March 20 and 21st. But I don't think March 2019 is... Well, it could be significant to Adar, but I don't think it... I know it's not significant with the 1335, because that was one of the years that did not qualify, ending in 1335 at Pentecost. 2020 and 2020 are the upcoming years that do qualify. So this reversal by God could begin around March 20 and 21st in this current year of 2019. Now, if it's the year 2020, a reversal could be Purim 2020, as it occurs March 9th and 10th. So we have that word Adar as a month, and we also have the word where God is magnified with that word Adar. There's a special association with the name Adar and God being magnified. This word does represent the 12th month of the Hebrew calendar. We learn this in the following verses, which include the root word Adar. That's what I was looking for. Okay, this is Hebrew 142, Adar. Exodus 15:6. Thy right hand, O Lord, is become glorious in power. Thy right hand, O Lord, has dashed in pieces the enemy. Exodus 15:11. Now, word glorious was Adar. Who is like unto thee, O Lord, among the gods? Who is like unto thee? Glorious, H142, in holiness, fearful in praises, doing wonders. Isaiah 42:21. The Lord is well pleased for his righteousness' sake. He will magnify the law and make it honorable. H142. So we have these Adar words that are very related to God's power, his glorious majesty, and there's no comparison anywhere to God. When you're dealing with this word, it just shows the power of God. And since the month of Adar is important to the reversal, as it was in the book of Esther, then we have this picture that once Satan is removed and nullified, there's going to be a time like in Joel 2 when it talks about God will do great things. He will be magnified. Where prior to that, Satan was magnified, or he magnified himself, and then God removed the northern, who is Satan, and then he removed him into a land barren and desolate. And we looked at that, but I can't remember the study on that one. That'd be a good study to bring up for part 2 for Facebook. I might do that. So anyway, soon in one of the very special months of Adar, God will be magnified, and the accuser and destroyer will be rendered ineffective. Then comes letters of peace and truth and forgiveness. God is good. Psalm 85:10. Mercy and truth are met together. Righteousness and peace have kissed each other. So this is the study now currently on Facebook, 2011 studies. You can go there and read that again. I sort of stumble over some of those words. I wanted to look at something else today too, about the magnetic pole that is shifted and moving actually, which it's amazing. This is going on. And I've always wondered if the earth will reel to and fro like a drunkard. What would cause that besides God's power? Is there anything like scientific that would cause that? So this was published February 4th, 2019, Science and Innovation, NationalGeographic.com, by Maya Wee Haas. Magnetic north has never sat still. In the last 100 years or so, the direction in which our compasses steadfastly point has lumbered over northward, driven by Earth's churning liquid outer core some 1,800 miles beneath the surface. Yet in recent years, scientists noticed something unusual. Magnetic north's routine plod had shifted into high gear, sending it galloping across the northern hemisphere, and no one can entirely explain why. The changes have been so large that scientists began working on an emergency update for the World Magnetic Model, the mathematical system that lays the foundation for navigation from cell phones, for navigation from cell phones and ships to commercial airlines. But then the U.S. government shut down, placing the model's official release on hold, as Nature News first reported early this year. Now the wait is over. The World Magnetic Model has been updated. So that's pretty fascinating that the North Pole, the North Pole has changed and it's moving. I think it said, the article was saying that it moved away from Canada toward Siberia, toward Russia. I'm not sure on that. I have to look that up. But anyway, it's pretty amazing this is going on, and it was moving very rapidly at one time. Okay, so Isaiah 24. Now there's been debates. I've been in some debates about no more salvation versus salvation, and some of these back and forths that we do is very frustrating, because when you know that God is going to be saving a great multitude at the end, and you also know that people are making a mistake by calling the 8,400 days Great Tribulation, which the Bible does not do. It was in Mr. Camping's books on that topic, and it was significant or it seemed significant at the time because Matthew 24 speaks of Great Tribulation. However, that was a captivity of Judah. And those who remained, once the 70 years was over, or the 84 months was over, or 840 months was over, once that was completed, the language of Great Tribulation was mentioned after the 70 years for those who remained in the province. And that would mean that 8,400 days ended May 21, 2011. After that period of 8,400 days and the anniversary of Noah's flood, we have this other time period, which I believe is God's long suffering, according to 2 Peter 3. So it's during God's long suffering where the Great Tribulation actually happens. And that would line up with the original pattern of Judah's captivity. And once it's over, those who remained in the province were in Great Tribulation. I wanted to look though at Isaiah 24 because they use Isaiah 24 to say, see, we are in the spiritual judgment day. But some of the language doesn't allow that. And when they have an idea that salvation ended May 21, 2011, they have this in their mind, so they search for other verses to back it up. And that's not how you should approach the Bible. You approach a chapter and you just read it, you look at the context, and then you can make a conclusion. You don't have an idea in your mind and try to back up an idea by bringing verses forth. Isaiah 24 uses the Hebrew word eretz. Now this is amazing because I've seen this in King James. They'll say, in one verse they'll say land, and then another verse they'll say earth, yet it's the same word. So when people read earth, they think, well, it's a global type of thing, it's a worldwide type of thing, but that's not necessarily the case. You have to look at the context. And Isaiah 24 is one of those chapters where you really have to look further. Because we read in Isaiah 24 how the city is mentioned and the kings. Now we're talking about the city of Jerusalem. And it even opens up in Isaiah 1 speaking of Judah and Jerusalem. So we already know the context if we would back up and just read it and not try to say, okay, we're in a spiritual judgment day now. Because some of the language of the haughtiness has ceased, and that has not happened. This is Isaiah 24:7. The new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth, and merry-hearted do sigh. The mirth of the tabrets ceased, and the noise of them that rejoice endeth. The joy of the harp ceased. They shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. The city of confusion is broken down. There you go. That's the city. That's the focus. The city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up, that no man may come in. There is a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. Now, there's one instance where they did use Eretz as land. The city is left in desolation, and the gate is smitten with destruction. Now, we know that's talking about Jerusalem there. There are some No More Salvation teachers who claim Isaiah 24 is happening now because we are in a worldwide day of judgment, but there is no real study going on with Isaiah 24. We need to compare the language of mirth of the tabret, joy of the harp. We find some answers in Isaiah 5. We have to back up. Isaiah 5, in my ears, saith the Lord of hosts, of a truth, many houses shall be desolate, even great and fair without inhabitant. I've seen some recent churches in China that have been attacked and brought down. And it's just, man, that's what this verse is talking about. Many houses shall be desolate, great and fair without inhabitant. We studied that, and let me just see if I talked about that at all. I don't think I did. Anyway, fair and great relates to, there's a verse that talks about Solomon's temple and the fair gold. The house was great and the fair gold. So we know it has the context of God's house of worship. Yet 10 acres of vineyard shall yield one bath, and the seed of a homer shall yield an ephah. Woe unto them that rise up early in the morning, that they may follow strong drink that continue until night, till wine inflame them. And the harp and the viol, the tabret and the pipe and the wine are in their feasts, but they regard not the work of the Lord, neither consider the operations of his hand. This is Isaiah 5:13 now. Therefore my people are gone into captivity, because they have no knowledge, and their honorable men are famished. Their multitude drieth up with thirst. Isaiah 24, very exclusive to the houses of God and the land, corporate Jerusalem, i.e. the churches. So this has two applications. It can mean historically Jerusalem back in the day, and it can also mean how the houses of God worldwide are coming into this judgment of God. Therefore my people are gone into captivity. I really believe that when you're talking about the captivity of Judah and then Israel, you're talking about two separate time frames which relate to the people of God who have come out of the churches, which represent Judah, and then you have the ones who remain in the houses of God, and they experience this captivity also. Isaiah 5:9 proclaims that many houses shall be desolate, fair and great. As we have studied this before, the term fair and great, here it is, has connections to the houses of God. Fine gold is fair gold. 2 Chronicles 3:3. Now these are things wherein Solomon was instructed for the building of the house of God. Then we go down to 2 Chronicles 3:5. I won't go all the breadth and the height and all that and the cubits. 2 Chronicles 3:5, and the greater house he sealed with fir tree, which he overlaid with fine gold, and set thereon palm trees and chains. He garnished the house with precious stones for beauty, and the gold was the gold of Parvaim. So we have this illustration of houses fair and great. The greater house was sealed with fir tree and is overlaid with a fair gold or fine gold, same word. So this is not a worldwide spiritual judgment day, as what people are looking around saying, oh, look, everything that's going on in this world, they're under judgment, there's no more salvation, God closed the doors, blah, 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 on and on and on. This mantra of no more salvation that they're teaching is so absolutely wrong that I expect more people should be at least standing up and saying, no, you're wrong on that, because God's word proclaims that there is salvation to the last day. Now, okay, we back up to Isaiah 1, if they're worried about the context and worried about what this is all about, instead of looking through the lens of no more salvation and trying to find verses that relate to what they're teaching. Isaiah 1, the vision of Isaiah the son of Amos, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. Now Judah went into captivity for 70 years. After that 70 years came Great Tribulation. Okay, this is it. Yeah, this is it. This is Nehemiah 1:3. And they said unto me, the remnant that are left of the captivity there in the province are in great affliction. Same word as tribulation. And reproach. The wall of Jerusalem also is broken down, the gates thereof are burned with fire. The rebuilding process by Nehemiah came after Judah's 70-year captivity. Now this would relate to after the 8,400 days of May 21, 2011. This is talking about 70 years, 840 months. Once that ends, once the 8,400 days ends, then we have the period of Great Tribulation following. The book of Ezra also relates as well as does the book of Esther. Now, there's a reason right now that I'm leaning toward 2021. And I'm continuing to study this. I'm looking at everything. I could have actually, first started off with 2020, because that, from trumpets to Pentecost, in 2020, there is a time period of 3.5 years which relates to and ends with 1335. But I'm bypassing that because I think 2021 should be more of a focus right now. And of course, if something comes up about 2020, I'll definitely, study it and get it up online. The number 10 is important with a tribulation. There's language that talks about you'll have tribulation for 10 days and be faithful unto death, and you shall receive a crown of life. Of course, that faithful unto death, that could be very spiritual language. As Paul has said, we are killed all the day long. So that could be very spiritual language there. Now, there's a reason I'm leaning toward a 10-year Great Tribulation after May 21, 2011. The 7,000th anniversary of the flood. The number 10 is seen in the following verses. There was 10 sons of Haman, the enemy of the Jews. The 10 sons of Haman, the son of Hammedatha, I think I said that right, the enemy of the Jews, slew they, but on their spoil they laid not their hand. I would expect them to be rendered inefficient at that point once God turns this around. And he, like it says in Joel 2, he removes the northern. And then God will do great things. Let's see. Now there was a total, including the 10 sons in the book of Esther, 510, including the 10 sons who were slayed. Once this reversal started happening. 510 is 51 times 10. Revelation 2:10, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye might be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life. 10 years is 10 years is 3,650 days, or 10 times 365. May 21, 2011 to May 17, 2021 just so happens to be 3,650 days. So we have that 10-year period from May 21, 2011 to May 17. Well, what's May 17? May 17, 2021 just happens to be Pentecost 2021. That's why I'm leaning toward 2021 at this point, because I think that year, and actually it would begin, did I list the, in that other study on Letters of Peace and Truth? I think I did. I think I listed the month. Yeah. March 20th. Yeah. No, I listed it for 2019 and 2020. But if we're doing a 10-year, and which in 2020 it's March 9th and 10th, Purim starts. If we're doing a 10-year, it'd be 2021. So I don't have that in front of me right now. But anyway, most likely, Purim occurs from mid-February or late February to March, around that time frame. So it could be anywhere in between that time that this reversal starts, and I think it would be March in 2021. I'll try to post that. So let's see, one more thing about Isaiah 24. It says that the haughty language, this is not the current situation of the world right now, but the opposite. In fact, haughty and proud will flourish until we enter the day of the Lord, or until God, it could end when God starts reversing things at Purim. And I think the day of the Lord, well, there's a possibility the day of the Lord starts there, but I think it's more toward Pentecost when it starts. Isaiah 24:4, the earth mourneth and fadeth away, The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. Now they're saying, okay, we're in this time now because the haughty people are languishing. I don't see it. I'm sorry. There are people lifted up. They're proud. They are acting like the accuser, like Satan does. There's a lot of pride going on right now, and I know this verse is not taking place. The earth also is defiled unto the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Now, where has that happened? Well, you can say that the churches have fallen so far away that they have a different gospel or a different salvation program based on signs and wonders, looking for signs and wonders. That would be breaking the holy covenant, but actually, or broken the everlasting covenant, but actually teaching no more salvation as of May 21, 2011 is the same thing. There are people, they have changed the ordinance and broken the everlasting covenant. Now the haughty, when you look up that word, it means those on high. And only God qualifies for that position. That's a good study if you wanted to look into that. Isaiah 26, trust ye in the Lord forever, for in the Lord Jehovah is everlasting strength. For he bringeth down them that dwell on high, the lofty city. He layeth it low, he bringeth it low, even to the ground, he bringeth it to the dust. The foot shall tread it down, even the feet of the poor and the steps of the needy. And I really believe that there is talking about, beautiful are the feet who bring the good news. The foot shall tread it down, and even the feet of the poor and the steps of the needy. That relates to bringing God's word and proclaiming salvation. Isaiah 35. No, this is Isaiah 33:5. Now this is talking about God being high. So we have the idea of God being high in many verses, and then you have those on high, the haughty who lift themselves up. Isaiah 33:5. The Lord is exalted, for he dwelleth on high. He hath filled Zion with judgment and righteousness. Now, no more salvation teachers who suggest that Isaiah 26:4 is currently being fulfilled as of May 21, which they proclaim is a spiritual judgment day, is not looking around at this world and seeing those people on high have not been brought down. So they're just trying to force something that hasn't happened. It will happen. Yeah, definitely it will happen. There's many verses that talk about the day of the Lord and how the reversal happens upon those. It'll return upon their own head, and God will lower the exalted. The proud cease during the day of the Lord. This is one of the verses I was looking for, actually. Isaiah 2:11. The lofty looks of man shall be humbled, and the haughtiness of men shall be bowed down. And the Lord alone shall be exalted in that day. For the day of the Lord of hosts, there it is. For the day of the Lord of hosts shall be upon everyone that is proud and lofty, and upon everyone that is lifted up, and he shall be brought low. And upon all the cedars of Lebanon that are high and lifted up, spiritual language there, upon all the oaks of Bashan, and upon all the high mountains, and upon all the hills that are lifted up, and upon every high tower, and upon every fenced wall, and upon all the ships of Tarshish, which are mentioned, ships of Tarshish are mentioned in Revelation, and upon all pleasant pictures. And the loftiness of man shall be bowed down, and the haughtiness of men shall be made low, and the Lord alone shall be exalted in that day. So we have that coming. No doubt about it, the day of the Lord is coming. But for people to proclaim no more salvation and then quote Isaiah 24 and say, see, this is language, we're in it. Man, I don't think they're looking around this world and seeing what's going on. It's crazy. So far, listening to many of these teachers, I have not seen any evidence of salvation ending. I have seen flatteries by people who prop these teachers up by agreeing with them. I've seen many posts on this happening. Somebody does a study, which is not really a study. It's just something that's trying to support their idea by quoting a few verses, and then the next person comes along saying, "Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you." So that's this kind of flattery type of situation is going on. I've seen the twisting of scriptures, like 2 Peter 3 warns against, concerning the promise of His coming and God being long-suffering for the sake of salvation. So we can know the twisting of scriptures is going to happen because that's in 2 Peter 3, and that's what some of those things that are hard to understand, they just don't understand them. I don't know if they're refusing to look at 2 Peter 3 and how God's long-suffering and how Peter pointed to Paul, saying, go look at Paul's writings. Go look at his writings. He understood that salvation was all about this time that we're living in now under God's long-suffering. Paul understood. Paul was the first example of God's long-suffering for those who would believe unto eternal life. And why they can't see that in the context of 2 Peter 3, they're just not studying it. They're enamored in their no more salvation teaching, and they're just stuck on it, and they won't get off it. And that's one of the things about the 10 years from 2011 to 2021. You shall have tribulation 10 days, a day for a year. That is a biblical principle, in case anybody's wondering. That 10-year period is not only supported by that one verse in Revelation. When Elijah, we look at the language of the Bible when Elijah was praying for no rain, and no rain came for 3.5 years, and then he prayed again, and there was rain. Well, 3.5 years plus 3.5 years is 7 years. So I was when I wrote the book 7 Years to a Better Tomorrow, I was looking at that as a possibility that the 7 years past 2011 to 2018 would be the time where the first half was no more salvation teachers teaching their wrong doctrine, and then the last 3.5 years would be a time where God's latter rain happened. But now that I look at it, we went back and we started researching what time Elijah prayed for rain, and it's there, but it's sort of masked. It doesn't say he was praying and then rain came. There's language there that suggests that, and he told his servant to go up into the sea and look 7 times, and on the 7th time he saw a cloud, and then Elijah knew the rain's going to come. So I believe we have that period of the first part of the 2011 to like 2014 where they were teaching no more salvation, and that's the first part, and then 7 more times goes to 2021 when finally we come to the point of what Elijah, and this is instructed. God instructed us to look toward Elijah and to look toward Job. And I believe both of those circumstances of Job being put under the trial of Satan, and also Elijah praying for no rain, and for 3.5 years no rain came, and then he prayed again, and 7 more times had to pass until there was rain. And that probably means that these no salvation teachers are going to teach this right until we reach the year 2021, and then God's going to start reversing things. And He probably is going to start during the month of Adar, Purim, and then after that will come Pentecost, and then the Feast of Tabernacles. So that's it right now. We're going to still look at this information about 2021. I wanted to present this and be looking on Facebook. Just get on Facebook 2011 Studies and subscribe, and you'll get short written, they're going to be shorter than this. They're going to be short written writings on certain studies, and we're focusing on letters of peace and truth right now that represent the gospel going forth before the end, before Christ comes. God bless you all, and the email is 2011studies@gmail.com. Thank you.